Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. We are continuing our award ceremony, and we're going to be blessed with the sounds of Stuart Wilson. Stuart Wilson has been a performer in the Cayman Islands for the last 15 years. He started part-time, and then he decided to make it a full-time career. He's a man of diverse talents, and he's been a band member in about 4 bands. He's traveled overseas and traveled in Thailand and the United Kingdom. And he has been part of our media scene as a writer and a news reporter and a broadcaster. Please welcome Stuart Wilson, who will be bringing us tunes that we can probably remember of him. One significant lyric that he had brought to fore was, "I would like to rule the world for a day." And I'd like for you to go on YouTube and listen to that song. It is remarkably put together lyrics, music, and is a remarkable example of Caymanian talent. Stuart comes from a family of artists. His grandfather was a significant contributor to commercial art in the Cayman Islands from the 1960s coming up through the 1970s. Many of the billboard advertisements that were available at the time and many of the graphic designs were designed by his grandpa. Stuart is now distilling that, translating art into music form. Please give your hands a round of applause to Stuart Wilson as he comes forward to do his part.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you this evening. I just want to give a round of applause to all the wonderful performers who've been honored tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could, please. Thank you so much. I'd like to also say thank you, a big thank you to the president of the association, whom I know has tried tirelessly to bring the industry together here on the island. I remember a time when we had no awards show, and the fact that we have one today, I think, is testament to some of the positive things that have been happening. I've been privy to some of the other sort of developments that have been happening while Mr. Smith has been the president. And it's not just because we are friends, but I have an immense amount of respect for what he's trying to do. And I think that we here in the island have a great deal to accomplish, but we have to accomplish it together, right? Yes. Can I get some volume on this guitar, please? I really don't like the way this guitar sounds. I know a place in the sun where every day people make haste to come. 3 little I know a place in the sun where every day people make haste to come. 3 little islands in the deep blue sea. Oh, Cayman Islands, that's the place to be. And in this place there is non-stop fun. A different shade, still enough for everyone. We set adrift on the sweet Cayman Islands, that's the place to be. And though I may cross the foam, you'll always remain my home. Stingray Bunburns and Stingray City, and so much love in every district. Under the stars we unravel the mysteries. Oh, Cayman Island, that's the place to be. Oh, Cayman Islands, that's the place to be. And though I may cross the foam, you'll always remain my home. And though I may cross the foam, you'll always remain my home. I know a place in the sun where every day people make haste to come. 3 little islands in the deep blue sea. Oh, Cayman Islands, the place to be. Thank you. I think some of you guys may know this one, you know. The guitar is not plugged in. I see Jupiter and Mars from far, and Saturn too. The Milky Way looks bright tonight. We were created to shine too. Oh, the world loves a child when he smiles. Oh, the world loves a child when he, whoa, we're looking for love, but is there hope? This world is a place that can be so cold. There is one suggestion I'd like to propose. I'd like to rule the world for a day. If I did, there'd be love and peace and no more fighting. I'd like to rule the world for a day. Every month would feed, there'd be no more greed. We'd all do the right thing. 'Cause if I did, everything would be okay. I'd teach them science and biology, give them all a chance. How can one youth stand still and another dance? Oh, the world deserves to smile for a while. Oh, the world deserves to smile for a while. We're looking for love, but is there hope? This world is a place that can be so cold. There is one suggestion I'd like to propose. I'd like to rule the world for a day. If I did, there'd be love and peace and no more fighting. I'd like to rule the world for a day. Every month would feed, there'd be no more greed. If I did, everything would be okay. Let's trade some way somehow. The future is right now. Yeah, yeah. Think I just figured it out. Hey, yeah, yes, yes. Thank you. Well, I wish you could hear my guitar. I know I. So, thanks so much, Carl. Everybody's talking of a new generation, new sensation. And everybody's treading on their own vibration, own inclination. I feel for you, my love. I feel for you, my love. I feel for you, my love. Together we are living in a new vibration, new creation. Perfect situation for a new generation, new creation. I feel for you, my love. I feel for you, my love. I feel for you, my love. And all of a sudden there was love everywhere. We never seen it coming, but we know that it's there, yeah, for me and you and me. I feel for you, my love. Said I feel for you, my love. Ooh. Yes, I feel for you. Together we are living in a new vibration, new creation. Perfect situation for a new generation, new creation. I feel for you, my love. I feel for you, my love. Said I feel for you, my love. Yes, I feel for you. Bless up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Stuart Wilson, who has allowed himself not to be deterred by the challenges of technology. And also a bless up to Asta, who stepped in to enable Stuart to deliver for us this evening. We're about to do two sets of awards. One is 6 Lifetime Member Awards. I'd like to invite Mr. Edlin Miles, one of the charter members of the CMEA. And he's going to be doing the awards, and I'll be trying to distill our biographies as we go along. Our first award this evening, our first Lifetime Award. And by the way, to qualify to get a Lifetime Award for the CMEA, you had to fulfill a number of criteria. You had to either be 50 years a continuous performer in the Cayman Islands and the Cayman music scene. You had to be a founding member, a charter member of the CMEA, or a past president, or an icon. Our first awardee is Robert Bob Ebanks. And I'd like to invite Robert Bob to come forward. Robert Bob has been playing drums since at the young age of 16 years old. He has a passion for music, and it is a part of his hereditary, as his grand aunt, Julia Hides, who was a musician, a poet, and a remarkable drummer. Also, our oldest Kimanian icon, and she was one of the 100 icons who've been awarded by the CMEA, and she passed on. So she distilled some of her DNA to Bob. He's a father, and he's contributed significantly to the music scene in the Cayman Islands. He's played in various bands throughout the Cayman Islands as well as performed overseas. Some of the earlier bands that he played with in the 1970s and later years were the Humble and the Meek. Anybody remembers them? Shout out. The Tornadoes, Strong Hands of Tomorrow, Memory of Justice, which went international, Network, Cayman Edition, In Transit, and Absolute Joy. The more recent ones are Local Motion and the band Regeneration, which started about 1967. Bob has performed overseas in places such as Texas, Belize, as well as in Cuba Disco Festival in Cuba. In addition to his contribution to the music industry, he's performed in the opening bands as an opening band for some of the most famous groups and artists who have visited the Cayman Islands, some of which are like Maxi Priest, Third World, Freddie McGregor, Barry's Hammond, Calypso Rose, Morgan Heritage, and Alicia Keys. He's also had the privilege of performing at Cayman's first jazz festival held in 2004. He also assisted as drummer with some local artists with the production of their albums. Bob hopes his dreams will become a reality one day, as he is presently working towards an album that he believes could make the top of the charts. Bob is a Caymanian and a part of our musical cultural scene. Today, he's been given a Lifetime Award by charter member Edlin Miles. So I'm going to ask you to recreate that scene right over here where someone will be able to take a photograph, please. Okay. Now, the Cayman music scene is remarkable in its vibrant fabric. There are very colorful individuals in the music scene, and one of them is Astor Ebanks, otherwise known as Asta. He started playing drums in his mom's home, and he says that he started playing drums while he was in utero, in the belly. He believes that that is the truth. And from that time as a baby, he has been tapping and banging. That's Astor. In the early days, my mom was a seamstress and used to order cloth from the Sears Roebuck catalog, and that was where I saw the first set of drumsticks. Before that, we used to take her bath pan, turn it upside down, and in the early 50s, there was a small set of bath pans dedicated to us so that we could play them with small bits of gravel. In other words, they had music in their heads and they utilized every available asset to them, which was small. I would then get about 1.5 foot tall, put in the ground, a bit of wood with a hammer. And my dad was a carpenter, so he sawed a piece of wood and got a Jamaican cheese can and placed on top of it, and it became a symbol. Bob Ebanks. And I used to go to the bush and use pieces of zinc as symbols, and also use oval-shaped old sardine cans and use them to make guitar sounds. I went to school from 7 to 11, and then I went to the Northern Keys on the boat with Denham and Captain Keith Tibbetts. At 12 through 13, I came back to Cayman and started working in the construction business. I was 17 when I bought my first official drumsticks. I've played with the Caymaneers, Ken Davis Combo at the Holiday Inn, Eric Smith, Nerdy, Backbeat Band for the last couple of years, Rennie Connolly, Richard Powery, Rex Watler, Regeneration Band, and many others. Ladies and gentlemen, Asta, otherwise known as Astor Ebanks from West Bay. He's going to be receiving a Lifetime Award. We invite Asta. Asta is the lady is coming back shortly. Now, the Regeneration Band was a remarkable band started in 1967. And it used to play at the Holiday Inn. And if you give me a minute, I'm going to do something very special, which is not on the itinerary. This is an original LP, 33 record speed. It has never been opened, and it is the Regeneration Band of the Royal Palms, and it featured at the time Alan Miles, lead guitarist, Eddie Carter, rhythm guitar, Cliff Ebanks, organ, Darrell Dakers, bass guitar, and Elvis McKeever from Cayman Brack on the drums, Edlin Miles, he was the vocalist and the percussionist, and also a de facto leader of the band. There was Gerald Rankin, and it was recorded at Le Jardin Lounge at the Royal Palms. Now, for those of you who are too young to know about the Royal Palms, it was a hotel that started in 1967 and was our first officially internationally branded hotel, which began about early 1967, when those roads were still chalky, and then there was La Fontaine also. But Royal Palms is now the Ritz-Carlton. Royal Palms is where we had the privilege of having a movie called The Firm, which I'll refer to later. It gives me great pleasure to hand something that has survived Ivan and many, many challenges, a complete original album to one of the original band members, Mr. Miles. This is a keepsake forever. Had the privilege of securing that at one of our thrift shops. And,
Thank you.
And I have been able to turn over one to the National Archives of the Cayman Islands for posterity. Now, I think Asta is here.
Thank you.
Please come, Asta. We were waiting for you, but you were probably trying to get a bit of zinc to make another symbol. So we talked about you.
Hey!
Very colorful.
Can I hear you? Okay, then.
Please give a round of applause to Asta Ebanks from West Bay for his Lifetime Award. And I'd advise you to seek these individuals out and give them a hug, and also get their autograph and a photograph, because they are from the old school. Very colorful. Thank you, Asta.
What do you want me to say now?
In shape, boy.
Just say one word of thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, boy. My head about that size now. I think this was so long coming, right? That I was like, is this really happening to me? And someone said, yeah, man, you go get your award. And I said, yeah. And I got dressed up like a fashion model. I got dressed up with this and that. And then how? a shot flying, and then a necktie, and this all kind of hot. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I really, I feel, yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah.
Asta.
I mean, I've been at this thing a long time, you know. Huh? I've been at this thing a long time. I was like 17, 18 when I got my first drum set. And I started playing and playing and playing. But guess what? The truth is, I became a drug addict. And 20 years of my life was not in this. After I came out of rehabilitation in 2007, I went to an event by the Westin, and Gary Ebanks' trio was playing, or his little combo was playing. And I said, can I sit in? And through Gary knew that, nah. He said, I don't think so. But I got behind the stage and I could reach up to the drums.
I hear you.
I could reach up to the drums, and I was doing so well just reaching up to the drums that he said, come sit down. And I went behind the drums and I played, and he said, get yourself a set of drums and join my band.
Give it up.
And I just started playing, and other musicians and stuff say, Moho, you sound good enough to join my band. But I'm not a player. I'm just a jammer. I just jam. If you ask me to play a song note for note, maybe that wouldn't happen. Huh? But I am very appreciative of this opportunity to.
It's
What the hell you giving me?
Here. You- but usually, you make the speech after you get your award, but
But you're good.
you're good.
Yeah, but I didn't know. No get informed.
Anyway,
No get me.
Asta, on behalf of the Music Association,
Yeah, but I
it's
want
a pleasure to give you
No,
this.
but no told me how to be how to do this, you know.
Yeah, no, you just do it as you see. You know. Congrats.
Thank you very much, Asta.
Give it up.
Come over here. Come over here. Somebody will take a picture right here. Thank you very much, Asta. Colorful thread and vanishing colorful thread. Our third award goes to Mr. J.R. Douglas. He is not here to receive his lifetime award, but he played in the high school band with Philip Bodden, Eddie Carter, from the 1970s through 75. Okay, good. And he's been performing from 1973 when he was playing in Cayman Kai. He's played all over the island and plays at Peppers during the weekend. J.R. Douglas, thank you very much for your contribution, and somebody here will be...
Good evening, everyone. I'm the lead singer in the J.R. Douglas Band. So he's off island, so he asked me to collect his award for him. So thanks to everyone for this gesture. My name is Wayne Brown, by the way. Thanks for this gesture, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next award goes to Jamich. Mitchell Mitch Olson Ebanks, Lifetime Awardee. He's from West Bay, and he's been known as Jamich from ever since. He is a singer, songwriter, guitar arranger, producer, a native son of the Cayman Islands. Jamich was influenced at an early age by the guitar playing of his Cuban father. He has performed internationally and has shared the stage with greats such as the late Dennis Brown, Big Mountain, Morgan Heritage, Beanie Man, Beres Hammond, to name a few. Jamich has recorded 3 albums to date and has written some of the Cayman Islands' timeless compositions. Anybody here to receive on behalf of... So the president will receive on behalf of Jamich, one of our icons. Lifetime Award.
Mitchell Wilson Ebanks, MOE. He calls himself the Master of Education. Yep, MOE. I just want to say, yeah, Mitch has dedicated his entire life to his guitar. It's truly a labor of love, and I think that it's well deserving at this time that he joins the lifetime members. Mitch has been a member of my band for the past 20 years, and yeah, well deserved, Mitch. I think hands down, you're one of the best guitar players the Cayman Islands has ever produced.
Our next recipient, Leonard Bodden, is receiving a Lifetime Award this evening. Leonard Bodden was first introduced to the guitar by his father at the age of 14. His father taught him G, C, D, those 3 guitar strings. His mother also played the piano in the home, and he learned to play by ear. During his lifetime, Leonard has performed as a bass player for the band the Marcianes. He's been the lead guitar player with the Humble and the Meek, alongside performing with the Memory of Justice, and he's also played keyboard with both network and mainstream band. Some of the venues that Leonard has played around the island include the Blue Horizon nightclub, the Club Inferno, Island nightclub, and Holiday Inn and the Galleon Beach. Holiday Inn is now replaced by the Ritz-Carlton and Galleon Beach by the Westin. We'd like to thank Leonard for his contribution and for being around so long and being a part of the Cayman Islands music scene. Leonard is from the district of West Bay.
I just want to say 1 or 2 words about Leonard that I know of that wasn't said. I think Leonard first started playing, I first heard Leonard playing with the King Bees. You remember that? The King Bees. Yeah, which became the Humble and the Meek after. But the King Bees were Ed Solomon, Leonard Bodden, Richard Ebanks, and John Henry Ebanks, and Mitchell Wells on rhythm guitar. So a little history back then, and I remember that back then because I was so inspired by the King Bees at that time. Leonard, it gives me great pleasure to present this award to you on behalf of the Music and Entertainment Association. It's a pleasure. You want to say something?
Thank you very much.
That's all you want to say? You want to say something?
I would like to thank everyone who made it possible for me to receive this award. I want to give thanks to all of my supporters through the years. I would like to make a brief demonstration on the 5 lines and 4 spaces of music. Wherever we go, we have that staff with us. This is 5 lines and the 4 spaces are here. That's the staff. Thank you very much.
See, I've learned something new.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite to the stage Henry Leslie. Henry Leslie is a very colorful personality from Belize. He came here in 1972, and by that time he was still a guitar player. He played keyboard, and he was with a famous band in Belize called the Lord Rayburn Band. And 2 days after arriving in the Cayman Islands, his uncle took him to Apollo Club. Anybody remembers Apollo? Apollo was in North Side. And he played with Bonnie Miles, the brother of Edlin. Bonnie was a part of Regeneration Band. And then he played with the Pappy Connolly Band. And then he played with New Experience Band. Then he formed his own band, Henry Leslie and the Burning Alps, which was interesting because the Alps really don't catch a fire, but that means his music is so hot. Then there was a forming of MOJ, of which Henry was a contributing keyboard player, and the original persons were Edward Solomon, Lammy, Seymour, Tabio, Leonard Bodden, and himself. Now, Henry has gone on to play with the Barefoot Band at the Holiday Inn, and there were many a night at the Holiday Inn that some of my business associates and some of my clients were regaled by the band that Henry was a part of. And some of the successes in business I could attribute to the beautiful music that formed part of the background. Henry went on and is now a solo player, and he plays at Peppers, and he plays at Rum Point. But Henry is immortalized in the movie called The Firm, where he was part of the band that was part of the scene of with Tom Cruise dancing at The Firm, which was filmed in Memphis, Tennessee, but filmed in the Cayman Islands at the old Holiday Inn on the site of where we have the Ritz-Carlton. So Henry the movie star and Henry the musician. And you can Belize it, which is his expression. He's Belizean Caymanian. So Henry has his daughter here, so we know he's going to live for another 100 years playing music. So Henry Leslie's daughter now continues the musical tradition by playing in a 15-piece band at the Emsley Memorial Church. Please give Henry Leslie a round of applause for receiving a Lifetime Award from the CMEA.
Henry, I worked with you in the music business for many years. And from 72. Wow, that's a long time ago. Very brilliant musician, gifted. On behalf of the Music Association, it gives me great pleasure to present this award to you for your service to the industry. Long term, yes.
That is priceless. Can I get, yes, please. We need a photo of you hugging your daddy again doing this. This is priceless.
Oh boy. Where do I start? Well, I'm going to start now. Like saying, I really appreciate the awards I've been given from the Music Association. This is my third. I'm so honored. I'm not gonna cry. We, like myself, Edlin and Holiday, the older musician, we have paid our dues through good times playing, bad times playing. We play sometimes at some place we don't get paid. We all been there. But all I want to say thank you all. My wife is here, my daughter is here, my friends, my sister, and for all of my, I am sorry to my musicians that I grew up with playing. Michael Hyde, he plays with Big Mountain, and also play with Ziggy Marley. We're both Belizean, and Juni Crawford. Very talented musicians, keyboard players. And I want to say again, thanks to everybody that came out tonight. I'm a little saddened. I had a bad day today. I've been suffering from bad back for the last couple of days. Then today watching CNN, one of my favorite basketball players died, Kobe Bryant. Still can't get over that. And one more thing, it's so sad that with all the bands we have in Cayman, all the band members, once a year, right here, once a year on a Sunday, they don't come and support us who are receiving our awards. This is very prestigious. Very prestigious. I would like to thank Natch, who started all of this. Also, Mr. Calbrang tonight for master ceremonies. And all my fellow musicians who are here, who received the awards. It's good to be here. I'm here every year opening for this show, every year. I had a bad car accident a couple years ago, a big thing around my neck. I was still here playing. I showed up. You know why I showed up? Because I'm a true die-hard musician. I'm a Belizean, Caymanian, you better believe it. And I'm proud to have my daughter, my wife here, my sister, and our friends here tonight, and all of my fellow musicians who are here tonight. We are the true musicians. God bless. One love. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We've just witnessed 6 musicians who have received their lifetime award. They've earned it. It's a huge and very important endeavor. At this moment, we're going to be inviting Mr. Junior Jennings, otherwise known as Derby, to the podium. Derby is going to be the recipient of the Icon Award. There have only been 9 Icon Awards over the last 12 years that have been awarded, and the rest have been Julia Hydes, Edmund Scott, Radley, Gazong, Melano McCoy, Dr. Melano McCoy, Dalmany Banks, Alan Bunny Miles, Edward Solomon, Lammy Seymour, and Wesley Howell, who's 105. The last one, the last year recipient of this award. So we invite Mr. Junior Jennings, otherwise known as Derby, to receive his award. Yes. Junior has been involved in music for the last 5 decades. He has had the gift of youth and the gift to hide his age. Junior has been involved in playing music from a tender age, and he was involved in music in some of the most interesting years in Jamaica, and he played for acts like Dennis Brown. And then there was a bit of a challenge regarding his mother's concern for him regarding the direction in which he was turning. And she decided that she was going to post him to the Cayman Islands in the 1960s for him to be with his dad. He was relocated here, and he continued his pursuit of music, and his mother's ambition was for him to become a lawyer or a physician. Junior decided to follow his heart and determined to continue onto the path of music, where he would not work a day in his life but enjoy teaching others how to do this. He has been here from the days of mosquitoes, where we, at that time, we would call mosquitoes our first militia, the national bird, because they were so prevalent. Many people don't know that we had 38 species of mosquitoes in the Cayman Islands, and we had the largest of mosquitoes per square mile in the world. So people who came here to live really wanted to be here. So Junior was one of those. And he started to play with notables like Mr. Nemhard. He started to play with Mr. Howell. And he's not stopped playing with Mr. Howell because Mr. Howell has not stopped playing music. And Mr. Howell is 105. So we look forward to a lot of music coming from Junior. He has continued in his path of music as a teacher of the guitar and piano. And I had the privilege of sending my son to become one of his students. And my son loved the music, but he was overshadowed by his sister who played both piano and 4 other instruments. And he said that he was going to be wealthy enough to hire musicians. So he left, but with the pleasant thought of always reminding himself that Mr. Jennings was a distraction from his scholastic pursuits. Junior still teaches music, and he still has an influence from generation to generation of Caymanians. And he has now availed himself of the instruments that have come to fore, including technology, in the internet, YouTube, and many other resources. Mr. Jennings is an important reason why so many have successfully pursued music in the Cayman Islands. A significant part of who Mr. Jennings is his humility. You will hear his music more so than you will hear him. And he will tell you it's not so much about him. He's got a soft voice and a very talented set of hands. Mr. Jennings, thank you very much for being such an important part of our cultural thread. And at this moment, our president is going to be handing him the Icon Award, the 10th Icon Award in the history of the CMEA.
I'd like Mr. Alan Bunny Miles to come here because him and Mr. Jennings go way back. He's another musical icon. We would be remiss of ourselves if we didn't have him on stage. Mr. Lambert Seymour was here earlier because tonight we were supposed to have an icon band jamming. You were going to have Mr. Howell, Edward Solomon, who unfortunately can't be here because he's in the hospital. So please, if you could have your prayers and thoughts with Edward Solomon at this time. Lamy on bass, Derby on keyboards, Junior Derby Jennings on keyboards, Mr. Alan Bunny Miles on guitar, Edward Solomon on percussions, and Mr. Howell on saxophone. That was something I tried to put together for you guys tonight that didn't work out. But I just want to say something really quick about this gentleman here, Mr. Jennings, that I can speak to. And then I'd also like Mr. Alan Bunny Miles to add something to that. And the founder of the Music Association, Mr. Edlin Miles, his brother, to also add to that. Because Mr. Jennings is really deserving. In the 1980s, when I was in the juveniles, one of the most influential musicians on island who assisted us as childhood musicians to get on the scene was Mr. Jennings Derby. I'll never forget the many times that Lloyd, we couldn't go on stage to perform unless we had the okay that the keyboards and the instruments, we were playing the right things because Derby approved it. Later on in life, I became a father, and I sent my son to Mr. Jennings' school with the hopes that he would become a musician. That's how much I believe in Mr. Jennings. So I just want to say it's a well-deserved award. We've watched gentlemen like Benil, Miller, who was in the school with Gio at the time, come up to be accomplished musicians and to have their own band. And I want to say that none of that would be possible without you. And I just want to say how grateful we are to have you.
Good evening. I'd like to say that Mr. Jennings is a professional musician, one of the best, and I was so glad that he was part of my band for a couple of years. The last album that we did in Jamaica, which was an original album, Junior played on that album. And he has a song on that album that he composed himself, which calls Who Knows It, Feels It. It's original and it's instrumental. I would like everybody to hear this music. This is very, very good. This man plays his piano, his guitar, piano like a guitar, like saxophone, like anything. You want to hear this song. And I must give Mr. Jennings all the praise because he's a very good musician, one of the greatest.
Yeah, let me say my little two-piece. I call him JJ, Junior Jennings. My name for him is JJ. And, you know, we work together in the music business, and JJ is like, well, he's always a teacher, but the knowledge that he has about music is the best. I want to say that there have been many times that when we were rehearsing, that things didn't go right, JJ was always there to say, well, listen, this is how it is. This is what have to happen. Because of his experience and his knowledge in the music business, it gives me great, great pleasure to have known him as a musician and a friend, and to be on the stage with him while he received this award. Ladies and gentlemen, help me congratulate Mr. Jennings by giving him a big round of applause.
Thank you so much. First, I want to thank God for this privilege to be here, reflecting that so many of my colleagues have moved on, have passed on in a few short years. I lost my mom and several others. I want to give God thanks for keeping me. And I've been fortunate to see some of my work being manifested in some of these students being and going so far. And I'm sure the amount of talent that is here, I hope to be around to see when they hit the top. Again, music is my life and will always be. And as long as I have the strength to keep on going, I'll keep on doing what I'm doing. But don't call me Sammy. And it is so strange. I wonder how the MC remember to call me Derby. Because you folks out there know Derby is my football name. Again, I want to thank the President and his school for such a prestigious award, and hope to preserve it and keep it and pass it on to my kids. So on behalf of my family and I want to give special thanks to you all.
I'd also like to say that we're looking forward to another 40 years of your music as you follow in the footsteps of Mr. Howell. Mr. Jennings has a distinction, not only as a talented musician, but he came to the fore when musicians were like him, who could read music, were singled out and sought after. They didn't have to go seek work, they were sought after. So he burst on the international scene in Jamaica because of his talent to read music, not only deliver it on an instrument, but also to read music. And he became a very sought after person. It was there that his mom got scared and decided to send him to Cayman. And moms know best, but we also got the best of him. Thank you very much for your award and your contribution to our cultural fabric. Our performance this evening would not be successful without you. Thank you very much for coming, each one of you. Please give yourself a round of applause. And we would like to thank the following sponsors who made this possible. Without them, we would not have this occasion. The Ministry of Culture and Tourism, the Ministry of Education, the Caymanian Times, and Radio Cayman. Each have been indispensable in the success of this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bonnie Miles just informed me that this album was the first and only recorded album live in the Cayman Islands. So I guess I am holding value and it's going to the right person. Thank you very much for coming. Each of you have made this a success. Tonight is important because it is a milestone in our cultural and musical history, and you have been a part of it. Have a successful night, and may you travel home safely.